Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the show. Holy banana bread. This is our first show of 2026. So that's pretty darn cool. Pretty darn cool. So definitely awesome. All right, now, a couple of small things we'll start off with. The subscriber sponsored video. It is back. It is back. So we did that. We did it a lot towards the beginning of last year. So basically, in a nutshell, what the subscriber-sponsored video is if you want to control a video. In other words, you got a company you want me to deep dive, you got a list you want me to make. This is your opportunity to make it happen. So how it works is $20 super chat. Put in that super chat what you want. If you want me to do a deep dive on well, last month we did it. Ended up doing a video on HYLD and HDIV, or maybe you want me to make a list of I don't know, top income ETFs. Well, that one would be a waste on because I pretty much do that anyway. So it is available, first come first serve. If somebody grabs it, today's the only day you can grab it. After today, it's gone till next month. All right, now. There's so much going on. Our goats. So as you guys know, when there are super, we do have goats. We have 4 of them. And, well, we're going to be retiring them. We're going to be retiring them and replacing them with new goats. So right now, goat number 5, the bonus goat, that is still in place. But I have a secret goat. And this is kind of how we're doing the retiring. If we hit the secret goat, and I'm not telling you how to do it, I did give one hint. The hint is 5. If we hit that secret goat, that goat will take the place of another goat, and that other goat will be gone forever. So we're going to retire the 4 that we have now. We're going to do 4 secret goats over the next, who knows how long it's going to take. It might take, maybe it'll take 4 years. I don't know. But I'll give more clues as to what. And each time, by the way, guys, whatever the secret activation is for a secret goat, after this one gets activated, it'll be a different secret. So it's not going to be the same thing every day. So it'll be something that needs to happen in the chat for it to happen, and you'll get to see it. But our funny goat is still, that's number 5. Holy cow. It's like I need a goat map. I need to make a map of the goats. All right. With all of that behind us, couple of themes here for today. Actually, a small theme and a big theme. We'll start with the small theme. Of course, the small theme is, yeah, Donald Trump's at it again. He's at it again. For those of you who perhaps have been out of earshot of social media or news or television or radio since since Friday, you may not know that he sent a military strike into into Venezuela, and he kidnapped the Venezuelan leader and his wife. I mean, the guy's not a good guy. I don't want to make it sound like he's a totally innocent guy that Donald Trump kidnapped. No, he's a pretty bad person. But he did that. That created a whole bunch of mess. There's a mess going on down there. So that would qualify, guys, as a Black Swan event. And one thing I'm hearing, just from different corners of the internet, is people speculating on, oh my God, what's going to happen to oil on Monday? What's going to happen to oil this week? Is it going to go through the roof? It's a good question. I think at this point, I don't think it's going to have the biggest impact that people might be expecting. I'm going to say a moderate to no impact on the price of oil, because right now we're at a point where one of the issues that oil is currently having is demand is a little bit on the weak side. This isn't going to change that. I don't think people are going to get too hyped up for this event in particular. Now, I could be completely wrong. Maybe oil will fly off the shelf tomorrow, but that's what I'm calling. I'm calling it as being more of a, if anything, it would be a black duckling event. I'm going to call it a black duckling event opposed to, or actually, yeah, I'm trying to think, what is a baby swan? I know a baby goose is a gosling. But yeah, we'll just say duckling for now, baby duckling event. So I'm not expecting it to be too big, too shabby. All right, now I said I had two things I wanted to focus the show on. The other, well, it's 2026, guys. I want to hear your opinions, and I'm going to give you my opinions on the sectors, what each sector is going to do this year. So we are going to break down the sectors this afternoon. We're going to go through them. We're going to take a look, and which sector is going to do the best, which sector. Well, I'm not going to say the best and worst. You guys have already, hopefully you've seen my prediction video. You know what I think of the best sectors, the worst sectors, but we're just going to try to give each sector, and I have prepared something on the whiteboard for this. So we'll get into that. However, before we do, I want to hit the chat. I want to hit up the chat, and we're starting with Jonathan. Am I late for a Black Swan dive? Well, yeah, that happened a couple of nights ago. And the interesting thing, guys, they actually had planned to do this just after Christmas, but the weather kept them from doing it. So it ended up delaying it past New Year's, but oh boy, what a mess. Claude says, hello, pumped for my 2 weeks vacation beginning tomorrow. We'll have plenty of time to check the market. Nice. Oh, so Claude, are you having sort of a stay-at-home vacation? What is that? What they call that, a staycation? Is that kind of what you're doing, or are you actually going anywhere? Obviously, it's more financially advantageous to stay at home. And that's the thing. I tend to do that too. I tend to do that. I like to stay at home for my vacations, but I don't get those anymore. Someday I will take one, but I'll tell you, it's kind of an interesting thing. As a YouTuber, if I decide to take a vacation, it won't be, like for you guys, it won't be 2 weeks. It may be 2 weeks for me, but it won't be for you guys, because I would start like producing extra content so that I could keep content flowing, probably for at least a week. So I figure it would be like maybe a 1 week for you guys, even though it would be a 2 week for me. But we'll see. We'll see. That's a long ways away. I don't foresee a vacation in a while, that's for sure. Let's see. Zenio in the house with a happy new year. We got the Nightbot letting you guys know about that subscriber sponsored video. Oh, and also, by the way, just going back to those, we do have a market close Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday this week, because that has all been taken care of. The Financial Express still on its way. On Wednesday, you will have the opportunity for Thursday, and Thursday, the opportunity to Friday. Like I said, the Financial Express, it's going. It's continuing until we miss a day. As soon as we miss a day, we're back to our normal schedule. But as far as I'm concerned, we could ride that train all the way to next Christmas if you want to. So, all right. Kiev and Cass in the house with a good afternoon, gang. Should be an interesting week. And guys, even though I said oil isn't going to be a big impactor in the week, I think the news is going to be interesting. There's a lot of countries saying that what Donald Trump did is illegal. So I think there's going to be a mess. I think there is going to be a mess. Oh boy, I just think, yeah, there'll be a mess. There's going to definitely be a mess. And the courts will try to get involved. Now, I think Trump's big argument is that this wasn't technically a military operation, but rather a military assisting a justice operation. So we'll have to see if that flies. Apparently, the planes fly as Delta Force came in. Rory said good afternoon, and it's funny. I heard Delta Force, and I heard no casualties. I instantly said, oh, Chuck Norris is out of retirement, because I don't know if any of you guys who saw the old Delta Force movie back from the 80s, I'm pretty sure Chuck Norris was in that. Sophie says, hey crew, it's been a while. Happy New Year to each of you. Hi Sophie, it is good to see you. I haven't seen you in a bit. I love it when somebody who I haven't seen in a while drops in. It's always fun. Paul says, good afternoon. Zenio says, would you invest slowly with the new TFSA money given how horribly Friday ended after a good beginning to the trading day? So yeah, I mean, when it comes to, so those of you who are in that situation, and you know what, not all of you are, but some of you are in that situation where your TFSA is full, you've now just been given a $7,000 of room and you're looking to spend it. So it depends. There's a couple of ways you can look at it. So if you are an income investor, so if you're pure income and that's what's the important thing, well, yeah, the sooner you fill that 7,000, the sooner you get a little bit more monthly income coming your way. So I can see in that situation wanting to fill it a little bit faster. But if you are either a growth income investor or you are a dividend growth investor, so either growth or that hybrid version, you may take your time. You may look for a better deal. I mean, I don't think there's any hurry to get it filled, but obviously you always have to look at the fact that while it's not filled, if you've got the money to fill it, that money is kind of just sitting there not doing anything. So in a way, what you may want to do, guys, and this is kind of an idea, at least put the money in there. If you've got the money, put it in there, drop it in like a cash ETF if you're not filling it right away. That way there, you're at least getting a little bit of something while you wait for some deals. Because there could be, the way things are going, there's probably going to be some really big dips somewheres along the way. Maybe January, maybe February, but I would be inclined to sort of go with maybe even a dollar cost average and maybe put a little bit of it aside waiting for that next big dip. So that's kind of the way I think I would approach it. All right, King of Day. King of Day in the house. Hello, everyone. Happy Sunday and Happy New Year. We got Lisa in the house with a hi, everyone. Patrick says, good afternoon, everyone. And Paul, there goes Canadian oil going dirt cheap as USA buys more Venezuela oil, which is heavy crude also. The other heavy crude in Russia, USA sells their light crude and imports heavy crude. Exactly. So this here is an issue. So one of the issues that this Venezuela thing, if the US is taking control of Venezuelan oil, that does reduce their need. That does reduce their reliance on Canadian oil because they can just get it from Venezuela oil. It's not a good thing for Canada. I will definitely say this. It does put more. I don't want to say more pressure, but it does make a pipeline. It makes the pipeline to the coast a lot more important. But the problem is that we can't. It's not like we could break ground. Even if the country, even if Alberta, well, Alberta's already there. The federal government and BC said, yeah, let's do it, and the Indigenous folks sign off on it. Even if all of that happens, we still need a company willing to do it. So there's that. We have to determine which company will do it. In addition to that, there's still going to be a lot of planning. It's not a simple thing. Like even if we went full bore as fast as we could, you're still looking at years. And we're not talking like 1 year, 2 year. You're probably looking 3 to 4 years before. I mean, you might be able to break ground in maybe 1 to 2 years, but to actually build it, it's going to take a long time. So it's not like we have an easy out. We don't really have an easy out with this. So on the bright side, there's always a bright side. The bright side is, from the sounds of it, right now it's a little bit of a mess down there in Venezuela, and the oil companies are going to have to come down there. So I don't think a lot of Venezuelan oil is going to start heading to the U.S. right away at all. I think there's going to be a lot more friction down there, and I think it's a mess, and there's going to need to be a lot of, I think there'll need to be a lot of infrastructure, and I think that's all going to take a lot of time. So for the next year or more, I don't think it's going to impact Canada right away, but down the road, yes. But that's a good thing. the further down the road it is to impact Canada, maybe that gives us time to at least try to get moving in that right direction, because the last thing we want is Canadian oil to be, selling at a discount, at an even bigger discount, because once you get the price down, once Western Select, once Western Select, which is our pricing for oil, once actually Western Canadian Select, once that goes down too low, it becomes it loses the feasibility of taking it out of the oil sands, because it is expensive. Not as expensive as it used to be. Now, mind you, if technology continues to improve and we can take that oil out even cheaper, that's also another thing too. So, yeah, it's a little bit of an oily mess, guys. It's an oily mess for sure. All right. Let's see. Mag says we need to watch our backs. Canada has a lot of oil and resources. Yeah. Now I'll tell you. I went to a live stream. I went to a live stream that was live streaming Trump's speech yesterday. Now, I'm not going to mention the channel because I'm going to point out a few things, so that's why I'm not mentioning the channel. But they had a very, very right-leaning audience. Now, you know what? This audience, I think on the most part, I probably have more right than left in my audience. That's fine, but these guys make you all, those of you right now, like Cowboy. This audience would make even Cowboy look like left. But anyway, I was aghast at some of the things I was seeing in the comments. I was just like, holy banana bread. Like, there was actually people in there saying, oh, please invade Canada next. I'm like, what? No. So yeah, watch our backs for sure. And here's the beautiful thing. If Trump had planned, now, here's some logic, guys. Let's throw some logic in here. So obviously Trump's not going to invade Canada. I mean, because if he was, do you really think he would have been pushing us to increase our GDP spending? Do you really think he would be trying to get our military stronger if he was planning to attack? No, that would be ludicrous. That would absolutely be ludicrous. So we're safe, guys. It's not going to happen. All right. Patrick says, might be a good buying opportunity on Monday. Maybe. We'll have to see how the market overall is going to respond. Like I said, we may get a little bit of a little small bump in oil on Monday, but I think overall by the end of the week, oil could even be down by the end of the week. So I'm not seeing oil responding in a big way to this, in a big way. All right. Oh, speaking of Cowboy. Hello, Cowboy. Rory says maybe Trump will send in the military into Fort Mac and set up a permanent garrison there as they suck our oil out. Oh, Rory. Nope, that's not happening. Like even Trump back in the day, back when he first had the whole 51st state thing, reporters directly said, are you planning to use military with Canada? And he said, no, that's not on the table at all. We're going to do it economically. So, what can I say? All right, and a greetings all from Cowboy. And we got Mary in the house with a hello all. And guys, Mary is our official captain of the like button. So there's 81 of you here right now. So if you have not yet hit that like button, now's the time. I'm going to have some coffee while you guys are doing that. Oh, so good. It's very, very good. Morley is in the house with a hi to everyone. Claude says, nope, stay-at-home vacation, so a staycation. I like it. They're the ones that you don't spend money on those. Well, maybe you do. I mean, but not a lot. Paul says NVDA will hit 259 sometime in 2026, a 37.5% gain from now. Bold. That's a bold prediction. But it may not be that far off the mark. I think AI is like a quiet monster. So even when you don't hear anything and you're thinking, oh yeah, nothing's going on. Last thing I heard was, OpenAI dropped ChatGPT 5. Well, we're already on 5.2, and things are getting stronger. Actually, one of the interesting things, and I may have mentioned this before, is all of a sudden out of the blue. So the A word, you guys know who I'm talking about. I don't want to evoke the A word. We used to be dumb as a pile of hammers. And just all of a sudden, one day, bang, switch was turned. It's now, it's now the pro version of the A word. And it's hilarious. Like, even last night, me and Jill were talking about something. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I said, oh, I said something, then Jill said something, and then the A word actually piped in and said, well, that's actually incorrect. I was like, what? What? Where is this coming from? But I loved it. I probably giggled for a little bit because I thought that was hilarious. The A word stepping in because one of us was misquoting the A word. So it was, of course, now I always worry that the A word will get smart enough to realize that when I say the A word, I'm talking about the A word. So that's probably next. All right, Aurori says, I'm in the process of buying a new PC, so probably looking at higher prices for NVIDIA. You're going to be looking at higher prices, absolutely. RAM. So RAM chips are going up, and I saw somebody shared a letter from Asus, and Asus was sending out a letter saying that they were going to be raising the prices of their chips. And it's because of the AI data centers, right? They need a lot of chips. They need a lot of memory. So yeah, that is going to be a big thing. So if you need a new computer, I would probably get it now. I would get it now because even now you're probably going to pay more than you should, but you're probably going to be paying a lot more than you should 6 months down the road. Sort of think back to when video cards went crazy because of because of Bitcoin miners. You're going to see the same situation, but with RAM this year. Yeah, exactly. And Paul points it out as well. All right, Cowboy says Canadian oil's just going to be really deeply discounted. This is going to crush the economy with the new source of heavy oil since Trump invaded the second biggest oil source. Yeah, and that's kind of what we were getting at. Like, this is not good for the Canadian economy. We need to be able to get that oil. We need to get it to other markets. Absolutely. We're not going to be able to sell it to the U.S. Not at any amount that would be good for our economy, that's for sure. But like I said, it's from the sounds of the mess in Venezuela, I don't think we have to worry about it happening today or tomorrow. I think it's at least a year or more out before they're really going to have that infrastructure keyed to get oil to the U.S. And also keep in mind, this story is not over yet. So, just because Trump won the first battle, we don't know where this is going to go. We don't know what kind of international intervention could be around the corner. I think a lot of international intervention will just be people saying, you shouldn't do that, ta-ta, but we'll see. We'll see. This is going to be an interesting week for sure. Rory says Minnesota and other northern states still needs our oil. Yeah, they're still going to need it for quite a while. And also, too, if you look at it this way, too, it's not as hard to pipe oil from Canada to the United States than from Venezuela. That's a long way. In fact, you're probably not going to be piping it. You're probably going to be transporting it by ship. Because, yeah, otherwise you got to navigate through a whole bunch of countries. Claude says, just for fun, what price do you think will HBTE go in 2026, both lowest and highest? I think it will bounce from $12 to $24. That's a great question. I think it has the potential. Like, I think it could. I don't know if I'd say double. I could say maybe $20, maybe. But you got to look at the fact too that there are aggressive. So about 50%, I believe it's 50% on HBTE. So half of that fund is at the money covered calls. So meaning that pretty much no upside. So no upside on half of it. So we are our half side is cut in half if you think about it. So um, all of the growth that we'll see will come from 50% of that fund. So yeah, I mean, if Bitcoin, like in my prediction video, one of the things I had predicted for Bitcoin is that it could peak up to 150. If it peaked up to 150, yeah, I could see HBTE maybe getting up into maybe even 22, maybe 23, maybe 24, but I think it will be difficult. I would say that for the most part, I see Bitcoin having a half decent year. I don't see a lot of super pumps, maybe one. So I think for the most part, it'll go higher than where it's at now. I think it's probably gonna, I would say between 15 and 18. Once we get a little bit of a recovery in that sector, I think that's where we'll probably see it through, especially through the second half of the year. Ian says, it will take a long time to get Venezuelans oil moving again. Should have time to move money in or out of Canadian oil and gas, but I really don't know what's going to happen. Might go up or down. Okay, fair enough. But yeah, but that's the point. What Ian was just saying is that it's going to take a long time to get that oil moving. And as I said, they're not going to build a pipeline from Venezuela to the United States. You've got to go through so many countries to do that. It's just not happening. Heck, even trying to get through Panama. Panama's already annoyed at the U.S. I don't think they would let it happen. So yeah, it's going to have to be a shipping thing. It would have to be a shipping thing. But mind you, it's not that big of a distance to go from Venezuela, ocean-wise, up into the Gulf of Mexico. So yeah. Elaine says happy Saturday, or Sunday. Happy Sunday, all. Rory, I'm slowly building up an ETF that holds Exxon and Chevron. Okay. Andrew, how do you believe this Black Swan event will affect WTI and Brent? I'm not thinking it's going to have a huge impact. I really think it's going to be light. And in fact, I think WTI by the end of the week could even be a little lower than where it starts. So I don't see this as really impacting it as much as you might think. Kind of like, I mean, look at the last Black Swan event. The whole thing that happened between Iran and Israel. That typically that should have really spiked oil, but it didn't. It really didn't. So I think oil's kind of almost immune to some of the world events, and it's kind of one of those interesting things. And it might be that it might actually be a Trump effect, that we're just so used to there being chaos, almost like a regular event, that when it happens, it doesn't really bother us. It doesn't really get people off of their rockers per se. So I don't see this as being a huge event. Now, maybe I'll be completely wrong, and I'll have to say I'm completely wrong on tomorrow's market close, but we'll definitely be seeing, we'll see what happens tomorrow. SB says Carney should be making a statement on how this is going to affect the economy. I'm sure there will be some statements, and I'm sure it's going to come out, like a lot of stuff will be, this is going to be big news, I think, going through. The fact that it happened on a weekend is probably one of the reasons that we haven't had as much coverage. Well, there's been a lot of coverage, but I think we'll see a lot more during this week. Let's see. Canada has too much red tape. Absolutely, Hugo. I agree with you 100%. And that's one of the things, well, with the whole One Canada thing, the idea is to reduce red tape. And I agree 1,000,000,000% with that. Let's reduce red tape. One of the really beautiful things I love in what the current government is doing right now is the whole concept of not having independent reviews by federal, by provincial, by municipal, but having just a single review. That to me makes a lot of sense. That's a lot of red tape removed. But at the same time, I still think it needs to be faster. So when you look at the One Canada, where it's like, okay, we're going to we're going to pick, these companies to be fast-tracked. So it means that we should be breaking the ground within 2 years. I'm like, well, why 2 years? Why? How come we can't have it done in a year? I would be happy with a year. So let's see if they can. I'd like to see that getting reduced a little bit more. And if the world keeps on getting as crazy as it is, maybe that will be a stimulus to make people, or to make the government sort of reevaluate a little bit. All right, Prairie's in the house with a Happy New Year, everyone. A bit late to the first this week of 2026, but catching up at 1.5x. Nice. Trump can't be president forever. He's old. That is true. That is true. We'll have to see how it's going to look. Well, now it's 3 years. We got 3 years to go. So there's, for one, 0% chance, even if he found a legal loophole of him running again, 0%. He just can't do it. The only way he would be staying in power is if, he kind of dissolved democracy completely. Then technically he could stay in power until he dies, and even then it probably then would only add a few more years, if that. So yeah, but who's going to replace him? That'll be the thing. Who will run for the Republicans in the next election? Will it be J.D. Vance? Or, at one point he kind of hinted that he wouldn't mind seeing Don Jr. run. I don't think either of those would be a good candidate. The Republicans right now, I think the early head runner for the Republicans is Gavin Newsom, the governor of California. So it's shaping up to be an interesting run to the next election. Oh boy. Pierre is in the house. Guys, get the likes in. It's the least you can give back to the channel. Yeah, absolutely. I don't know how many likes we have right now. But guys, yeah, absolutely. It's basically, it's just the way the algorithm works. Like, I could have 1 million people in here watching. Sure, the algorithm would like that, but if all 1 million people didn't give a like, that would actually impact how well the channel got pushed after that. But honestly, if there was 1 million people in here, I would have my job cut out for me for sure. All right, Cowboy, there is lots of oil companies with money to spend. They don't want idiot government standing in the way of construction. Canada take longer to get approval than to build the project. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I would like to see, if we can get all of the agreements, get all of those agreement ducks in a row sooner, then, of course, then you do have to find a company that wants to take on the project. So, it's not like you can't just sort of go to Enbridge and say, hey, you're doing it, or to Keystone and saying, hey, you're doing it. The company there is free will in there, so you can't make a company do it. Carney still hasn't done anything. Let's see, right or left his opinion. How about truth? Let's see here. Rob says, I just got here. So Trump and Venezuela situation right now is a Black Swan event. Will the stock market collapse on Monday? I don't know. Honestly, I don't know what the stock market's going to do on Monday. I don't think, I think Monday will be fine. I don't expect it to be a giant pump day or a giant dump day, but yeah, you do have the Black Swan event, and you do have people worried. So there's always that possibility. If we get a drop on Monday, I can almost see it being where we drop until about lunch, and then it turns around. And by the end of the day, we haven't really made much ground one way or another. So we might have a dip Monday morning. That'd be fantastic if you're looking to buy. But we'll have to see. Oil-wise, I think oil will be down by the end of the week. So I'm not really seeing a lot when it comes to oil. I don't see oil really getting impacted too much. We might see a little bump when the market opens. But the thing I would say, guys, especially with oil, take a look at the oil futures as we head towards the market. That'll give you a good general idea. And plus, oil will start, you'll see some trading tonight on oil. So you'll have a general idea. You should hopefully have a general idea where at least oil's going to go. The rest of the market, it'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing what the futures are going to look like. All right. A mayor says, don't look for any logic or method with Trump. It's just deflection and populist noise. Yeah. Well, it is. And there's a method to the madness with Trump. Trump likes bargaining chips, and he sees everything as, I just need leverage for the deal. And that's kind of like, you even look at the tariffs. Yes, he threatens tariffs all the time. A lot of the tariffs he threatens never even come to pass. Some of them do, but a lot of them don't. And he uses tariffs as a tool. It's all negotiation tools to him. So, he's kind of that, I think he's that same way. Like, I really, he talks about his, like, even now, he talked about the fact that they had a second wave planned, a bigger second wave. They may or may not have a second wave planned. It may or may not be bigger, but it may just be rhetoric. So that way there, nobody really tries to, tries to resist what he's doing. Let's see. A cowboy says, glad to know you think I'm right wing. Well, not right wing. Well, I'm right. I mean, I'm going to put it this way. So, politically spectrum wise, I would be what you would call a small C conservative. Cowboy, your C's bigger than mine. Your C's a little bigger than mine. And I feel perfectly fine saying that. I also would look at Carney. I don't see Carney as being left. I see Carney as actually being a small C conservative as well. So he's in that area. The Liberals typically, like under Trudeau. Now Trudeau, he was not a small C conservative. He was probably a medium L, I guess liberal or just leftist a little bit. So, you know, I don't look at it as like, you know what? I look at it this way. Whatever political leaning you have, it's okay. I mean, I have no problems with anybody from any part of the spectrum. I just, I just like to, I like to listen. I like to learn. I can learn a lot from somebody deep right, as well as I can learn a lot from somebody deep left. So I'm always open for learning. That's the way I look at it. Hugo says Canada is beyond broken. Healthcare, military, taxes to death, expensive real estate, and food. Yes, good old. There's definitely issues. There's definitely issues. I don't know if I would go as far as saying broken, but there's definitely issues. There's a lot that does need to be fixed for sure, for sure. Kiev and Cass says notice Bitcoin up at 91. Nice. Yeah, let's take a gander. Let's take a gander here. Here we go. Yeah, so Bitcoin's actually had a good weekend. So it moved up through Saturday, and now it's kind of in a nice little flat channel right now, guys. Oh, I think I think it's underneath me. I think it's underneath me a little bit. Let me just drag it down. There we go. Flat channel. So right now we'll see how. Now the interesting thing though is I've noticed lately Bitcoin tends to do pretty good on the weekends. Then Monday comes and it erases whatever gain it had over the weekend. We'll have to see if it can change that tomorrow. So we'll see. We'll see. All right. Let's see if this idiocy will give metals a bump. I think, yeah, especially tomorrow. So tomorrow, if we do get a little bit of uncertainty in the market, a lot of that uncertainty will probably move to gold. So gold could have a pretty good day tomorrow. And the interesting thing is, let's say we do get that uncertainty. If we get a lot of uncertainty in the market, it might, we could technically still have a green market on the TSX from the power of gold. So, but we'll see. We'll see. I can't wait. Like I said, and guys, keep in mind, market closes going forward start at 3:30 Eastern instead of 3:45. So I'm giving myself a little bit of extra time before the bell, so I'm not rushed, and I can just, I like it. I like it. Green Canyons said, Green Crayons Canyons. Oh boy. Green Crayon says, I hit the like button. I'm contributing. Well, thank you, Green. Thank you. Roy says, not a Black Swan, an orange clown event. All right. We can take that. We can take that. Paul said, just saying NVIDIA will hit 259 doesn't mean it will stay there. Look at Tesla; it gets an all-time high and doesn't stay there. Yeah, exactly. A lot of times, if you hit an all-time high, if you haven't done it in a long time, there's going to be some investors that are going to take profits. So it's hard to stay there. Like a lot of times, you'll hit it, you'll come back down, then you can come back and retest it again. Wahipple says, "Hey." All right, let's see. Candace, what do you think about the A word? Yeah. Nice try, Claude. Nice try. I appreciate that. Yep. Samsung will not sell RAM to Samsung as the AI is too rich. Oh, okay. I've not heard anything about that, but interesting. RAM's gone up 5 times since the summer, so it's already 5x. Oh my gosh. Political change is fast, but changing infrastructure takes time. Oh, yeah, absolutely. What is importance behind the U.S. and Venezuela? Well, the big importance is, this all comes down to oil. This is all about oil. I mean, Donald Trump says it's about arresting a terrorist, or, whatever it is he's calling Dingledork there. But it all does boil down to oil. And one of the reasons is you've got the U.S. So the U.S. produces a lot of light crude. And the reason that is basically because they use a lot of fracking. Basically, you drill into the shale, you pump a bunch of water in, it mixes with the oil, and they get it out that way. So they have light crude, but all of their, not all, but most of their refineries are set up for heavy crude, so for heavy oil. Well, up until recently, that's all been from Canada, because Canada, that's what we produce. We have some of the best heavy crude in the world, and all coming out of the oil sands, of course. And, the U.S. gets it at a pretty good discount. That's all fantastic. Now, Venezuela, they're in the same boat. They also have heavy crude. So the U.S. is looking at that. And if you go back, back when Donald Trump first started his whole Canada should be the 51st state thing, he was always going on, we don't need Canadian oil. We don't need Canadian oil. Well, yeah, because they were, maybe he had this planned for a long time. But if, and right now, they're not in a position to take the Venezuelan oil, even though, he's talking about it. There's a lot of work that needs to be done down there, a lot of infrastructure, and it's going to take a long time. Like, it would be I think more than a year before they could even start really getting any significant amount of oil out of Venezuela. So, down the road, the big impact is that, yeah, all of a sudden Canadian oil may not be as desirable if they're just, shipping it all in from Venezuela. So that could certainly hurt Canada on the economic scale. Also, at the same time, if he starts pumping out a lot more of it, you could dilute the market a bit, and that could also drive down the price of Canadian oil. So that means less profit. That hurts the economy. That hurts Alberta. So yeah, it's not a great thing. It's not a great thing. Cowboy says the Americans are in desperate need of oil and they have no tanker bans. Yeah, they have no tanker bans, and it's a very easy trip from Venezuela, up the coast, pretty much up the coast to get to the Gulf of Mexico. All right, Rob says, why does Trump want Venezuelan oil? Well, once again, the United States, their refineries, most of them are geared to process heavy oil. So they basically, they import their oil for less than they're exporting their light crude. So they sell the stuff that they're pumping, and then they buy the stuff that they need. And they make money in the process. It's it's almost like a giant profit pump for them. Cowboy says, also the only card we had to play with Trump was oil, and now that, not so big a card. Yeah, it's still a half decent sized card for now, but yeah, you're right. Because we're at a point where, depending on how fast they can get all of the infrastructure fixed down there. So yeah, the future is not looking bright for oil at the moment. But guys, I still think there's a lot more stuff that's going to go on before then. So, I don't think the story's 100% done yet. I think there's still more to come. Brian says, good afternoon, everyone. Hi, Brian. The Gulf of Trump. The Gulf of Trump to get the United States of Ameritrump. There we go. Yeah, I'm surprised he hasn't renamed the United States to well, maybe the Trump States of America or something. Oh, I don't know. I think you'd have a hard time getting that through. That's for sure. All right, Paul, in the last month, total return for these IBIT plus 5.03 versus blocks minus 0.73 versus HBTE minus 9.59. Blocks is put spread options must work better with no capped upside and slightly more downside. Oh, that's interesting. It is. Those are interesting numbers for sure. Let's see. Rob says, will this affect Canadian financial institutions? I only ask because I want to get into HMAX. I don't see any immediate impact on Canadian financial. Like, I'm still pretty bullish on the financial sector as a whole. In fact, before we go any further, let's talk about financials. I did say I had some content prepared as well for us today. So I'm going to pull this on up here and let me go to, I just want to do a little bit of an outlook, sector by sector. We won't spend a lot of time on each sector, but you just mentioned, Rob, you just mentioned the financial sector, and that just happens to be our first one. Actually, here, let me get rid of that. There we go. And I'm going to make this a little bigger. There we go. So yeah, financials. So the financial sector. I like our financial sector in 2025. And I wrote a little bit here. I'm going to pull up what I wrote here about finance. So one of the things I was saying, improving but uneven. So what I mean by that is that I think overall finance is going to have a pretty good year. So will it be all straight up? No, of course not. We're going to have a little bit. There'll be a little bit of struggles through the year, but I think we are going to see movement to the upside. So one of the big drivers is obviously the rate cuts. That's kind of cool. They're mostly behind us. I don't see the Bank of Canada, if they cut again, it might be once in 2026, but I really don't see a lot going on there. So that is going to help things. It's going to help sort of stabilize the overall banking system. So I see, like margin pressure stabilizing. Credit, I think credit's going to be good. The quality of it's going to be a little bit better than we had been. Well, than we were fearing. So when, just a second, Rob, I'm gonna delete you because you're kind of blocking part of the screen here. Yeah, so I think we're not going to see a recession. That's another good thing that the financial sector will love. The banks they're designed to work well even on, kind of flat, boring markets. And I don't want to say we're getting a flat market this year, but we're not getting that big explosion that we got last year. So things will cool down quite a bit. So I think it's going to be fine. I think the banks will be fine. I think they're going to do well. We will still see dividends. I think every one of the banks will have one dividend hike this year. Yeah, it's not going to be exciting, guys, and that's why I said boring but dependable. And that's kind of what we're going to be looking at with the Canadian financial sector. I think a lot of these funds that we currently have, so things like Sixty Bank, even the new one from Horizons, I think they're all going to do fine. I think the banks are going to be a very safe sector, and that's of course Canada. Also, I actually think, and I was talking to somebody in one of the comments. I think the European banks might even have a better year than us. So, so funds like eBank might be one to watch in 2026. So, yeah, these are the financials. This is kind of where I'm seeing things. Definitely throw your input down in the comments here. We'll go to energy in a bit. I just wanted to sort of get the first one done. There we go. Financials. I did a little write-up for every single sector. So what can I say? All right. Niece is in the house with a hi all. Hey, Niece, how are you? How is winter treating you over there? Um, E Mabang, what low volatility ETFs would you suggest for my TFSA? So you're looking for low volatility. There's you're going to have a certain amount of volatility no matter what this year. I think that's going to be kind of a baked in part of the year. But I do think most ETFs, most passive. So and this is the question you asked me is really not giving me a lot of information. But the fact that you mentioned low volatility makes me think you're not looking for income ETFs. You're looking for probably dividend growth. So I think your standards are going to be fine this year. So, we're talking things like VFV, XEQT, any that track a specific index. If you're looking, like another one too that could be interesting is Hamilton's Mix. I think that's a nice solid one for this year because that one also, they also invest in gold. They've got gold in there as well. So, and there are some specific, I think Hamilton also has a low volatility one as well, but I would sort of just look around, try to figure out, first of all, figure out what you are looking for in particular. So dividend growth, if that's your game, I wouldn't even worry a lot about that volatility per se. I would be worried about, what type of total return am I getting? What type of growth trajectory am I getting? Because I think that would be more important than the volatility per se. So that's just, that's how I look at it. Like, I don't care. Like, volatility, to me, I don't care. Like, if I'm looking at volatility, if it's an income fund, sure. If they're writing covered calls on it, sure. Volatility means that I will get better payout. I'll get a better, a better dividend or a distribution from them if they have a lot of volatility. So for my low volatility plays, I mean, honestly, your lowest volatility, something like utilities. Utilities tend to be pretty low volatility. So, and the reason for that is that a lot of them are regulated. So they have regulation in there, which means that a lot of the utility companies tend to have lower betas. So take the iShares like XUT. That would definitely be a low volatility ETF for sure. But there's going to be and then there's more like there. I would just sort of take a look. But once again, I wouldn't even worry about volatility, to be honest. I would be looking at how the fund is performing, what type of return I can expect on it. To me, that's even more important. Brian says all Trump's oil buddies are getting their return on investment for their mega support. Just remember, it's Make America Great Again. It's not about the top 1%. What a terrorist country they are now. I know. Oh boy. Yeah, Trump is... 3 years can't come soon enough, guys. 3 years can't come soon enough. Oh boy. Cowboy. The One Canada thing I know's not one project has started yet. We are doing nothing except sending borrowed money offshore. Yeah, I mean, we have our list. We have our list of companies that are going to be fast-tracked, but I would love to get an update. That's what I would like to see. Hey, liberals, give us an update on these projects, like regular updates. That would be kind of a neat thing to get for sure. Paul says if J.D. Vance runs for president and Trump runs for VP, Trump's not going to. Trump is already really starting to show his age. So I don't see, even if they tried this as a loophole, Paul, I don't see it going. I don't see it happening. Also, I think he has really fractioned MAGA. He's lost some of his key supporters have bailed on him. So I don't think he's going to even if he could run for a third term, I don't think he'll have as much MAGA support. And I think that could hurt him. California has just as bad problems as Canada with their environmental policy and virtue signaling policies. I think the biggest issue in California are the taxes. They have to be the most taxed state in the Union for sure. Enbridge can still pipe Venezuela oil since they have a large U.S. foothold. Um, yeah, but you still have to get that oil. You still have to get that oil from Venezuela to that U.S. foothold. So you're still looking at ships to transport the oil from Venezuela to the Gulf of Mexico. Paul, we will have a clue what happens at 8 p.m. Eastern tonight with the markets and 24-hour trading. Yeah, exactly. When when the Sunday night marketing starts, so you'll get futures. You'll also have CBOE. So yeah, absolutely. Cowboy says it's going to affect oil supplies. It's not going to affect much else, in my opinion. Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm at, Cowboy. I'm thinking that we're not going to see that much of an impact anytime soon, at least on this event. If Trump gets the Venezuelan oil, which is heavy, then they don't need Canadian oil as much, ship our oil out of the country. Well, that would be the good thing, is if we could ship our oil out of the country. So yeah, we need a pipeline, but like I said, it's years. Best case scenario, you could be breaking ground in 2 to 3 years, but that's best case scenario. And how often do we get the best case scenario? Paul says, remember at the start, if COVID oil went negative, so anything can happen. That is true. But part of that was just that with all the lockdowns, if you think about it this way, all the lockdowns, people weren't driving. Basically, oil supplies just where there were just way too much. Like oil consumption went down big time. So yeah, there's that for sure. Trump isn't Canada's problem. He didn't sink our economy. That's all liberal policies. Okay. Chevron may lead the charge in recovering Venezuela oil. And I've heard a few people talking about Chevron for sure. Paul, actually currently right is what center used to be as the left has shifted far left. Let's see. The oil shale is in its twilight. I think the Trump admin knows this. All right. And guys, once again, any attacks on Carney, and if we get too political, I'm gonna just skip those. Rory says it's going to be fun watching oil futures do the knee-jerk reaction later. Chevron is bailing out of California, so we'll have lots to invest in Venezuela. Well, there's probably going to be, Cowboy, I think there's going to be incentives for people first, whether it be Chevron. I think there'll be incentives for them to be working to get Venezuela, to get the infrastructure repaired there faster. All right. Jackie says, Dollarama keeps on impressing. Hopefully this continues for 2026. Candace, do you think it will continue? All right. I do like Dollarama. And Dollarama, they're considered consumer staples. So I do have pretty good outlook on the consumer staples section. So I see Dollarama, and Dollarama, they really know what they're doing. I was going to say the high road. They take the high road. No, but they have a very good plan on how to run a business. And that shows over the years. They have done just incredible. And now they've got their expansion into Australia. So they bought a big chain there called Rejects. Now, Rejects, I will be fair, Rejects was a struggling chain in Australia. Now, they are keeping the name, but they're applying their formula to them. And I have a feeling that Rejects will turn around and do really well in Australia for them. So I do see Dollarama as, I see them as doing really well. I see them as, I'm pretty bullish on them. Paul, the power of Grayskull, when Candace said the power of gold. I know, gold, oh boy. Good afternoon, everyone, says Roku. Happy New Year. Rob says, I like AMD. AMD had a good year. AMD is they're benefiting big time from Trump's kind of initiative to do all of the chip buying in the United States. So that is definitely a big thing. Scott joined late. Good afternoon. Hi, Scott. How are you? Rob, MU is the RAM chip stock to get into. MU has done fantastic. So Micron has absolutely had a great ending of the year for sure. Holy banana bread. Let's see. America is the biggest user of oil. Yep, absolutely. Let's see. Even mid-sized U.S. cities have giant freeways. Yeah, a lot of cities in the U.S. aren't even built for people who don't have cars. They're built for people who drive. So yeah, and it's amazing. Like there's a lot. You know, I mean, just look at it's like almost like I don't know. It's almost like the lifeblood of America is their roads. And cars are huge. So yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more than this. Jackie says the main issue is that Trump just broke international UN rules that were established after World War II. These rules state that one country cannot act unilaterally against another country. Yeah, no, there's rules. And the whole argument is that Trump is trying to say that it wasn't a military action. It was a justice action with military support. So I don't think that's going to fly. I think there's going to be, I think it's just going to be a mess. I think it's going to be a mess. We'll have to see. It's not like even if the UN came together and said, all right, nope, you gotta send that leader back. I don't know if Trump will do it. Trump probably will say no. All right, yeah, and there's the information about the subscriber-sponsored video. So if you do want that, it is available. Rob says, what did that Venezuelan guy do wrong for the U.S.? Go capture him. I don't know the full story, Rob. I know that one of the parts of the story that I do know is that he didn't really win the election. So he had an election, their last election in Venezuela, and he lost it by quite a bit. But basically the ruling party at the time, they just said, yeah, we're just going to keep him. So the person who won the election didn't get to take over. So he's technically, in a way, he's kind of, I was going to say he's kind of like like Trump if Trump had succeeded with, with the January riot thing. But yeah, no, he's a lot of countries see him as an illegitimate ruler. Like a lot of countries, let's be fair. A lot of people see him as as a illegitimate ruler, and he doesn't belong in that, there. So but here's the thing, Trump kind of overstepped. I mean, Trump doesn't have the right to just walk into a country. I mean, that should have been if the UN wanted to get rid of him because he was illegitimate, sure, that would be a UN operation, or there would be legal avenues to try to do that. But the reality is Trump wants the oil. So, this was not about, the removing of whatever his name is, what is it, Monsudo or whatever, the removal of him and his wife, that's more or less the window dressing on what Trump really wanted. Mark says, just join. What's on the front of your hoodie? Well, it's not a hoodie. It's not a hoodie. It's just a shirt. It says Holy Banana Bread. There, I'll lean back. So yeah, it's a Holy Banana Bread shirt. Cowboy. Let's see. He was selling drugs and refused to leave office after losing election. Yeah, there was that too. Big says, good day, everyone. Happy New Year. Just how rich are we all going to be after 2026, Candace? Well, let me ask you this. How rich are you now? Maybe a little bit. If you play your cards right, of course you'll be richer by the end of the year. But I don't see this, 2026 is not going to be the year, it's not going to be 2025. I sort of look at 2025 as being a kind of like that big pump, and now we need to sort of sit back, digest it a little bit. So yeah, I don't see 2026 as being a huge year. We're not going to crash. We're not going in the hole or anything this year, but I think you have to lower your expectations if you're comparing it to 2025. All right. Randy says Harvest is supposed to be coming out with their own Canadian high yield financial ETF in 2026. Yes. That they have the prospectus for it, so that one is definitely. I imagine I wouldn't be surprised to see that one in January, because normally when they release a prospectus to the public, it's not that far behind. So that will be their version. That'll be their response to 6C, of course. Paul says, "Holy Batman, on the 1-year total return, bank 41.3% versus eBank 63.5%. Yeah, yeah, no, Europe had a fantastic, the Europe banking sector did amazing, And I think they're also going to outperform us again this year. Now, I think both of those numbers at the end of this year are going to be lower. I would maybe even say in half. Like, we might see bank up 20%, eBank up 30%. It could even be lower than that. It's hard to say. We'll figure it out as the year starts to progress. But all right, Cowboy says the referendum in Alberta is becoming bigger play. This will have a great effect on Canada's economy and political stability. Well, keep in mind, though, that referendum won't happen until your next election, your next provincial election. That's my understanding. Pierre says, "Hi, Candace. Do you think having XEQT and VFV in the same portfolio right? Considering the fact XEQT already has the S&P 500, what are your thoughts on this? FYI, I have both in my portfolio." Okay. All right, fair enough. One of the beautiful things about, XEQT, we'll start with that. XEQT, of course, is an all-equity ETF. So you're getting exposure to a lot of things. So you're getting some good S&P 500 exposure. You're getting some Canadian exposure. You're getting some European, Australian, Asian, developing markets as well, or emerging markets. So you are getting really good exposure across the board. So with that being said, if that were your key holding, so if XEQT, let's say for example, let's say it's 50% of your portfolio. In a case like that, well, yeah, you've got some really good exposure. At that point, you've got exposure in kind of everything. So I would almost build it to a point where I would say, if I had XEQ as my core, I probably wouldn't then come in and go 50% VFV. I would probably look at, where I want to booster things or where I have more confidence in. So let's say the S&P 500, I have a lot of confidence. I mean, it's the U.S. market. It's the biggest market in the world. So you might have, if you have more, you might do like maybe VFE 10% and then another one 10%. Maybe you'd have 5 more ETFs that might be 10%. There's so many ways you can do it, but having XEQT and VFE in the same portfolio, it's not a crime. You just have to be aware of the fact that you are a little heavier now on the S&P 500. And if you have really strong conviction in it, that's not always a bad thing. All right, let's see here. Cowboy, what companies? Brookfield is my guess. Sleepy Donald. That's a good name. That is a good name for him. All right, before we go any further, guys, I'm going to stop us right here. And we got our sector by sector breakdown. We already looked at financials. So improving but uneven, the general direction of the financials. All right, let's pull up energy. I'll just pull the whole thing up, guys, so you can read it as I talk. So energy, I do see energy as having a pretty good year. Like, I think they'll do better this year than next year. It's not going to be a banner year, but it is going to be a pretty strong year. Now, one of the big things as well about energy, of course, is, global supply. That's what's going to support pricing. There are it can be impacted by a lot of things, even everything from OPEC changing some of its production. Yeah, that can all certainly come in and be a bigger player for sure. I do think natural gas is going to have a pretty solid year. So if I had to bet oil or natural gas, and I could only choose one, oh gosh, I might lean towards natural gas this year, but at least in Canada, I think natural gas is going to have a pretty good year. I think they will do pretty well. I'm also very bullish on pipelines, the pipelines that we do have. One of the reasons, in the challenge, I'm holding PPLN. It's a pipeline ETF. I'm very bullish on pipelines going forward. overall, I think energy will it's still going to be one of Canada's strongest sectors. Cash flow kings, you can call them. Sure, you got a good amount of dividends in here. I think it's a solid sector for sure. I have nothing negative really to throw at energy. So, all right, we'll come back here and we'll do another sector sooner than later because we're already at 1 hour and 11 seconds. Holy banana bread. Michael, UEC with no debt with 698 million and products has governments buying uranium and businesses won't stop buying uranium for more energy that will move back upside to 1780 again and could go to $20. Okay. Yeah, I'm very pro uranium. Now UEC, that is I believe it's a US uranium royalty company. I like them. I do like them, but I do like Canadian uranium better. Some of the best uranium in the world comes out of Saskatchewan. So Cameco, so CCO, that's their uranium. Why is it some of the better uranium in the world? It's because it has to do with enrichment. It is you need less enrichment with some of the level of the uranium you're getting out of the ground in Saskatchewan needs less enrichment than pretty much everywhere else in the world. So yeah, it's a really good product, and UEC, yeah, I like it, but I do like Cameco even a little bit better. All right, A says, how do you think the markets will react to the Venezuelan incident? All right. Well, oil, I think we'll see a small bump in oil at the open, but it will pretty much come right back down. I don't think it's going to be a big incident. I think oil's going to be fine. I think oil's not really going to respond too much to it. You have to remember, we're kind of in a situation right now where we do have a little bit of a weakened demand for oil. That's not going to, that won't change. That doesn't change from what happened in Venezuela. The rest of the market, yeah, there could be a little bit of fear. We might, if we do see fear, there's a possibility we could see a small drop in the morning or maybe a medium drop in the morning, but I think it will recover by lunch. I think, so we might have one of those half red, half green days tomorrow. We might. Now, mind you, I could be completely wrong because the market sometimes does what the market does. All right, and Michael's just mentioning, oh yeah, UEC recently added 150 pounds of historical resources through the acquisition of Rio Tinto's Sweetwater assets in Wyoming. Yeah, it's a good company, Michael. I mean, we've talked about it quite a bit, but it is a good company for sure. DC equal not District of Columbia, donor controlled. Trump's OPEC buddies might not be happy with the whole Venezuela thing. No, I don't think so. There's a lot of people who are not going to be happy. I mean, China is not happy as well. But here's the thing. China may not be happy, but they might also be happy. Because if the U.S. can just do something like this, why can't they just take Taiwan? Think about it. I'm not saying that they're going to, but I'm just saying they might be looking at this and saying, well, if the U.S. can do that, why can't we? So that could be a question, and that could be something that plays out later in the year, well, or maybe next year. It's hard to say. I mean, China is I will give China one credit for one big thing. They're very patient. Like, they're incredibly patient. And they might even be the type, like China, here's kind of what I would almost do. I mean, if you thought you were going to rile Trump too much by taking Taiwan, I'd just wait for the next president. Wait till somebody comes in who's perhaps a little bit softer and doesn't go overboard as much. Maybe then's the time to take Taiwan. But yeah, I don't see it happening. Well, it's not happening this week. Of course, mind you, guys, I did in my financial prediction video, I predicted that the U.S. wouldn't go into Venezuela. So I was wrong on that front. So I could be wrong on China as well. But Rory, don't worry, David Eby will save us. Oh boy. Michael says, We can see oil at $52 by Golden Comments. Well, we'll see. We'll see where oil's going to go. There will be a bucket brigade transporting oil to the coast before there is an approval of a pipeline. Ah, boy. What can I say? Paul, watched a YouTube video about FEQT with Darren and KYT. They managed to talk for 68 minutes. They got into cover call ETFs at the end. FAQT has factor ETFs and 2 to 3% exposure to Bitcoin. Yeah, so the Fidelity all equity ETF. So FEQT, it's a lot like XEQT, but they do have that exposure to Bitcoin. And I personally, I think 2 to 3% exposure to Bitcoin is a pretty healthy thing. So yeah, it's not a bad fund at all. So, XEQT does get all the glory, but FEQT, not a bad one if you want to bake in a little bit of exposure to Bitcoin. Rumor has it, speaking of 60, I got my first divvy on December 22nd, and Wealthsimple says the next divvy is payable on January 22nd. I thought it paid twice per month. Yeah, it does pay twice a month. So it is a semi-monthly. All right, let's take a look. Let's, whoop, that's the wrong screen, but we do want this screen here. All right. All right, we're going to head on over to right here. All right, 60. All right, here we go. I thought it was much sooner than that. I thought it was like around the 12th or something, but let me take a, we'll check it out. We'll check it out here. All right, here we go. And we're going to go to key data. Let's see here. The 15th, payable on the 22nd. There we go. So yeah, you're looking, oh, wait, sorry. That's the next one after that. There's one on January 8th right there. So yeah, you had your 22nd. So there's your 22nd right there. Then January 8th, then January 22nd. So it might be, rumor, it might be that Wealthsimple is just sort of treating it as a monthly initially, but there is that one in the middle. So maybe maybe Wealthsimple has to get that fixed in their system. Maybe their system doesn't have control of it, but I still love Wealthsimple, guys. In fact, let me drop the link in. Let me drop the good old Wealthsimple link. So if you have not tried Wealthsimple, guys, this link will give you $25 to check them out. I like them. I like them. They are very easy to use. Are they perfect? No, but they're commission free and they're easy to use. So definitely worth checking out. Now I will tell you, if you do use that link, I get $25. Well, the channel gets $25 as well. Always good to know that. Always good to know what that there is a affiliate involvement in there because I like the transparency. All right. Let's see here. Cowboy says it's called profit. That drives the oil industry now. Now one want to invest in Canada because government policies can stop these companies from being profitable. Look at what happened to the Keystone XL. Yeah, and I actually heard, in regards to the Keystone XL, I can't remember where I read it, but I think at one point somebody, I actually think it might have been Trump who was talking to them about trying to get more oil going, and they were like, nope, it got canceled, we're not doing it. Let's see, Northern Gateway and the LNG projects that were canceled. True, because oil, like C&Q, could not be trading at $45. All right, I understand they split already. All right, the industrial carbon taxing is stopping investment. How far behind am I? I'm actually only about 17 minutes behind, guys. Let's see. Now that the world doesn't need USD to buy oil, Trump had to stop Venezuela to sell oil in yuan. Yeah, exactly, Scratch. That was actually one of the tankers that the U.S. stopped was a U.S. tanker. Was it? A U.S. tanker. Was that China? Bound for China. So I imagine China is not very happy. Other than, like I mentioned before, they could look at this and say, maybe Taiwan is on the table, but we'll have to see. The UN is corrupt. Well, I don't know. That I don't know about, Brian. Cowboy. Well, although maybe Brian's a cowboy, was a cowboy at some point. I don't know. No one pushed back on Russia that much after Ukraine. No one will push back on Trump for Venezuela. Mark my words, China sees this and will attack Taiwan this year. Who's going to do anything? Interesting. Yeah, it's kind of where I was thinking, although I just don't see them doing it this year, but I think it moved up the timetable. Although you could, and this, I guess, Brian, this is where you could argue. I mean, they have been doing this thing where they have been, practicing sort of cutting off the airspace for Taiwan, and almost like blockading them with fishing boats. So yeah, there's evidence. There's at least a little bit of evidence that you could be right. I don't think you're right, but you could be right. And that scares me a little bit. Scratch, way too much M2 supply for a sinking empire. Rob says, for 2026, would you get more in XEQT or HMAX? Or, that's a good question. I mean, I do like XEQT quite a bit. HMAX is interesting. I might, you know what? There's just, I'll make a video. Let me make a video, Rob, on this. I'm not going to say exactly who I would go for, but I do actually. One of the videos I want to look at, and it's probably going to be made within the next week to a week and a half, is I want to do a video, a growth income. I want to sort of come up with my growth income dream team. So anyway, I've got a whole bunch of interesting things on planned, for sure. Is there a relationship between RBC and BlackRock? Good question. I do not know. If anybody knows, let Rob know. I don't. I honestly don't know. Michael says, we could crash that. You never know what will happen that you hear about the carry trade, if I spell that correct. So yeah, the carry, you're talking about Japan. So yeah, there's a lot of concern around the Japanese economy. And and carry trades. Basically, a carry trade is, you're basically borrowing using the Japanese currency, the yen, and you're getting these loans with almost zero interest. So when Japan all of a sudden starts to raise up interest rates, it causes some serious issues with these loans. And yeah, it can cause a lot of issues. So if Japan were to were to raise their rates any higher, there could be issues. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's definitely a concern. If we had those LNG and pipelines completed, our economy would have been in much better condition. We would have a positive GDP. No additions. Yeah, there would definitely be. Oh, Rajbir, there you are. I was waiting to see if you were going to show up. So hi, ma'am, waiting for your response. All right, good stuff. So yeah, Rajbir, one of the things I do, guys, is I will review. I will take a look at your portfolio. I have no problem. Now, I'm not going to tell you you need to get stock A, B, and C. I'm not going to tell you you need to get this ETF and that ETF. But I can look at what you do have and just sort of give you some feedback on that. So Raj connected with me over there on Blossom. And guys, let me give you the Blossom address. So if you want me to look at your portfolio on the air on a Sunday, I'm only going to do, I probably will only do one a day, or one a Sunday. So first come, first serve type thing. Anyway, jump over there, use that link, get over to Blossom, follow me, and message me. Direct message me, let me know. Let me know. All right, so Raj, here we go. This, guys, is, I'm going to go back one space here. Nope, or maybe I'm not going back one space. There we go. So this here is Rajbir's portfolio. So Rajbir in here. If you're over there, hey guys, if you're over on Blossom, maybe throw a follow over to Rajbir, because it looks like Rajbir is young, and is looking for a little bit of help with investing, all of that fun stuff. So all right, let's take a gander here. So right now, Rajbir has 14 holdings. 14. It looks like they're mostly ETFs. So All right. Yeah, look at it here. You can see new to investing. Right in there. All right. So we're going to just pull up and look at what Raj has. What Raj has. So looking right away, and we were talking about XEQT earlier. So XEQT, 42.8%, not quite 50%, but a huge holding right here. So I'll pull up XEQT here for you. And that's the 1 day. Let's go to the 1 year. There we go. So XEQT, I love this ETF. And we also mentioned as well FEQT. So that's the Fidelity version. There's also like Vanguard has a version, VEQT. There's also even BMO has ZEQT. There's a whole bunch of them. There's even a covered call version as well. But yeah, this here, speaking of Trump, guys, here is Liberation Day right in there. But this is a great little ETF. They have really good exposure. So we're talking worldwide exposure, Canadian market, US market, Australian, Europe, Asia, emerging markets. So you are getting a very good, you're getting a very, very good, probably one of the better diversified ETFs out there. So it's fantastic. You're not getting, now I will point out, you are not getting a lot of dividends with this. This is a growth play. This is a dividend growth play. And that's perfect for somebody like Roger, who is young. You've got a big road in front of you. So this is a great ETF for this. So when we look at your portfolio, like we said, 42.8%. Some people might say, holy banana bread, that's a lot for one. But at the same time, there's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of investors out there that are 100% XEQT. That's all they invest in. And that's, if you are going to only invest in one ETF, then an all equity, an all equity is not a bad way to go. So either, XEQT, FEQT, VEQT, ZEQT, all of that fun stuff. But all right, so yeah, I love this. I think that's a great foundation, and you got to call that your foundation because it's at the bottom, Raj. It's at the bottom. Everything else is based up on top of it. All right, so now you got QQC. So we're pulling up QQC here, and I'll pull up the 1 year on that because the 1 day doesn't look so good. So yeah, QQC, this is your Invesco NASDAQ 100 index. So this is giving you a little bit more access to technology. I love technology. And once again, this is also a dividend growth ETF, so very much in line with somebody having a long runway. Technology, there will be ups, there will be downs, but I think overall technology is going to really, really do well. And I think this could be a half decent year for technology. In fact, I think AI is getting, AI hasn't even taken center stage. Like, we're close to center stage, but I think AI's got a lot more to go. On top of that, we got quantum computing coming next, and I think that's going to be big. I think that's going to be big for technology. So this is not a bad choice. This is a pretty good, solid tech, giving you some great exposure. All right, now, this is going back to the question I just answered. Look at this, VFV. So this is S&P 500. So this, once again, is going to give you, and we'll go to the 1 year. This is going to give you some solid exposure to the Nasdaq. Well, you will actually get exposure to the Nasdaq because a lot of the bigger companies on the S&P 500 are the tech companies who are on the Nasdaq as well. So this is, once again, is it a little bit of duplication over XEQT? Sure it is, but at the same time, it's not a bad sector. If you want to be a little heavier in the S&P 500, well, you're being a little heavier in the biggest companies in the world. That's not a bad thing, especially when you're starting to look at growth. So I'm okay with that personally. I think that's a good move. All right, now XIC. So once again, with XIC, this here is your S&P TSX capped index. So this is giving you, well, this one's giving you exposure to Canada, some extra exposure in here. And once again, you can sort of see, you'll notice this is a little bit steeper. The slope is a little bit steeper than the US one. And why? Well, because Canada kicked the US butt this year. S&P 500 finished almost 29%. Sorry, the TSX finished almost 29%. TSX down about 17. So yeah, Canada absolutely ruled the roost. Yeah, this is a good one. XIC is a good one. There's a few different versions, but once again, this here is you. Dividend growth, clear dividend growth investor. Up next, you've got ZGLD, so gold bullion. Gold is having a fantastic year. Nothing wrong with having a bit of gold in your portfolio. And look at this. Let's just pull up the 1 year on this. Yeah, that's a really nice slope. Like, look at this. Does it tell me? Yeah, from 41 to 64. That's not bad. And the beautiful thing too, Rash, is all of these are pretty much passive funds. They all have very low expense ratios, MERs. So management expense ratio, that's a good thing. You'd rather have more of your money compounding opposed to going to paying fees when you're in this period of your growth. So these are fantastic. And this is just your first, what's this? First 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And looking at the rest, so okay, you got TD Global Technology. Interesting. Now that one there, so tech, one of the things that you're going to get from this one is you're going to get a bit more exposure outside of the NASDAQ. So you're going to get a little bit more global technology. China has a pretty strong technology sector, so you will get some exposure to that. That's not bad when it comes to gaining a little bit more exposure worldwide. I'm okay with that. You got VDY. VDY, once again, pull up the 1 year. This one also had a great year. So this is your Vanguard FTSE Canadian High Dividend Yield. I love it. And look at this. Once again, management expense ratio, 0.22. Beautiful. You're not getting a lot of dividends, but you're growing. And that's what I love about this portfolio. It is a good growth portfolio. All right, and then of course you got a little bit down the bottom. We got a little bit of crypto. Well, here's the beautiful thing though. It's not overwhelming, and this is what I like. So look at this, Bitcoin. You've got 1.7%. Let's see the Fidelity Advantage. So this is an Ethereum exposure here. So 1.6%. You've also got 1.6% once again here in Fidelity Bitcoin 1. Solana. 1.3, Ethereum 1.1, and another Solana here 0.5. Not bad, not bad. That's not a bad exposure level to crypto. Yeah, I have no complaints. Like, I've got no complaints about your portfolio, and I know what you're looking for. You're looking for, what can I add to my portfolio? What can I add to make it even better for sure? There's a lot of different things. You are weak in energy. So that's one sector you might want to look at. So, yeah, sure, you are getting exposure to energy through like XEQT and BFV, obviously, also VDY. So you are getting some good exposure, but if you're looking to add a little bit extra, I think energy is going to have a strong year. So that might be a sector to look at. There's a lot of great ETFs out there. iShares have a good one, like things like XEG. There's also the utilities one, XUT. There's a lot of good ones. Now, obviously, don't just go and buy XEQ or XEG. Do your due diligence. Take a look at them. See if they make sense. But right now, with what you have, this is a good start. You've got a pretty good foundation there. So I do like it. So absolutely. And feel free to message me if you got any more distinct questions about your portfolio. Feel free to just message me over there. We've got the thread opened on Blossom, so feel free to message me, and you can ask me a couple more questions if you got a few more, but I do like your portfolio. All right. So guys, if you want me to look at your portfolio, you know what to do. The Blossom link there down below. All right. You know what? Let's do Scratch first. Let's see. We could see a dip in a Canadian oil, but it will be short. I'll be watching like a hawk for great entry points in the days, weeks to come. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And yes, Raj. You see, I was prepared, Raj. I already had you queued up and everything. So, that's why I ask you guys to reach out on Blossom and we'll set this up ahead of time so I can look it up. And if I don't, and the reason for this, Raj was great because I knew everything that he had. But sometimes you guys might have some obscure ETF or stock that I've never heard of, and that way there I can have a chance to look at it before we go anywhere else. All right, let's go big screen here for a bit. Cowboy, there is no stable rules here in Canada. That's the primary reason you're having problems getting commitment to build large capital projects, because the policy can be changed on the whim of the government. Yeah, what can I say? UEC could do much better than sector will roar this year. Yeah, absolutely. Uranium, like I said, I'm big on uranium. Let's see, time to invest in wrinkle ranches. I'll tell you, well, today I did the scripting for the 0 to 100K challenge because the update is the next video. EXE, off the charts again. Certainly having a good month. Cowboy, problem is we can't afford to live in a wrinkle ranch. Oh boy. Well, yeah, maybe some people can't, that's for sure. Honestly, I hope I never have to live in a wrinkle ranch. I actually hate calling it a wrinkle ranch, guys. Let's be nice. I love our senior. I love our senior. My mom's a senior, and I love my mom. So, Rory says, true, but gotta have a little of what they have. Shuffleboard games, slow dances, and lots of pills. Well, you can have lots of pills at home too, guys. Bleak says, hey all. Hello, Bleak. Good to see you. World of free speech. A lot of talk people will start taking their profits on gold and silver. It's only collecting dust in metal prison. It's hard to say. But yeah, every so often you will get some, you're going to get corrections. You're going to get corrections over and over again as gold keeps going up. And that's people taking profits. And like I always say, there's nothing wrong with taking profits. All right. Cowboy, oh boy. But you do raise a good point. You do raise a good point. And the point that you're raising is that, we look at the long-term care homes and we say that's great places to invest. But it's not just the long-term care homes. If you have a company that does, well, in this case, crematoriums or wheelchairs, things like that, there's going to be higher demand for that. And some of these companies are going to do really, really well. A Scratch says, don't trust COMEX silver price next week. Hold on to your physicals. Okay. JF Devoy says, oil barrel is at 2020 price. I think 55 USD is the bottom. No more oil will come out of Venezuela in a year, if ever. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of work to do in Venezuela, so we're not going to get a glut on the market right away from that at all. Dear God, Rory, that's terrible. EAC, China thinks in terms of generation. The U.S. thinks in terms of election cycles. They do. I mean, a lot of politicians are that way. It's like, what can I do now that will get me elected next time? That's as far ahead as a lot of politicians think. And it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. They're all the same. They are all the same. All right, and guys, I'm jumping ahead a little bit just to try to get caught up, and because we still got some content here too. Nightbot, basically, yes, subscriber sponsored. If you want it, it's available. Enough said. In the words of Stan Lee. Larry's in the house. Let's see. We freed Venezuela of its oil. I wonder if we will be freeing Panama of its canal next, or Colombia, or Nicaragua. They're on the list. I know. Well. Keep in mind, Greenland's on that list too. So, cue Van Halen. I love Van Halen. All right. DVLT looks like it will turn into a runner soon. Interesting. Rory, let's see. If you're talking to somebody else, I'm not going to go to you. I'm going to pass those ones. China's oil fleet was going to be in Venezuela in 3 days, so had to hit him immediately. Yeah. Well, you didn't want all of that oil heading back to China, I guess. Americans get money from every barrel sold in America. China won't do anything. They don't have the food or resources. They can win in a fight against the USA, or they can win in a fight against the USA currently, but would be blockaded and starved. The most advanced EUV machines and chips are in Taiwan. China isn't ready to start up with Taiwan. That will start World War III. I don't know if it would. That's the funny thing, cowboy. Right now, it seems like everybody can just do what they want and get away with it. So what's to say China can't too? It's hard to say. It's hard to say. Everything, and there's people out there right now that believe World War III has already begun and we just haven't labeled it yet. But I just don't know. Let's see. Could Trump start a war in China? But since the food companies like K's and KHC, since Trump's saying inflation is down, that these type of companies outperform this year. I'm not 100% sure what you're asking, Michael. You started talking about a war and then went into inflation, but yeah, I don't think we're going to see. I don't think we're going to see a war. I don't like a world war. A world war. USA will run out of missiles in 3 months in a war with China, but within 3 to 5 years, the USA will win. Maybe. My only concerns, of course, is I just don't want to see anything nuclear on the board. But what can you do? Div money is coming in tomorrow. You gotta love dividend days. Debating purchasing some Venezuela currency, maybe just 10 or 20K worth. Interesting. Yeah, it is down. And if it recovers, that you could be getting, you could be looking at some pretty good profits on that for sure. Gotta love the you have divided emails. You have dividend emails, divided emails. Yeah, okay. That's the best way to start a day. Email saying you have dividends. With that Windows Eureka sound, FAQT. Isn't that an annual dividend? I think it is. I think it is, actually, cowboy. And I'm not a fan of annual dividends because, it's like, that's too long to wait. XUS pays twice a year, I think. Do you have any idea that the UNG have support since you bullish on natural gas? Hit 11.55 last year. That could hit those lows again. Yeah, that would be interesting. That would be interesting. I'm still bullish. I don't know. They may not hit those lows, but we'll have to see. All right. And Nisa says, Happy New Year, guys. Well, Happy New Year's to you as well. One of the Hammonds is annual. Semi-annual. So Hammond Manufacturing, they pay a dividend twice a year, so semi-annual. Let's see. John says, I received my first CDR on Meta. Why they're charged 15% tax, as it is a Canadian fund. Did you get charged 15? That's interesting. Okay. Here's what would happen. Let's just put this into perspective here. So if you're figuring out the 15% by looking at the regular dividend, if you're looking at that dividend, then when they pay that dividend to CIBC would be charged. Now, I don't think it would be 15%. I would assume that CIBC would have a deal with the IRS, because a lot of companies, bigger companies, they can get deals to have that lowered. So, but that's an interesting point. So yeah, maybe it is 15%. I mean, if they took 15% of the dividend and CIBC received 15% less, then they're going to pass on to you that 15% less. So in a way, yeah. But here's the kicker though, John. Here would be the kicker. If that's how that happened, if that's why you've seen 15% less, even if you put that in an RRSP, you would still see it in that situation. So interesting. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, Meta is the U.S. company, the CDR. Yeah, the CDR is a Canadian holding, but obviously the dividend leaving Meta going to CIBC, that would, that could receive a withholding tax on it. So yeah, I can see how that might happen, and that's a very interesting point. I want to think about that one a bit more, John. That is very, very, very interesting. Mario says, "Good afternoon, everyone. You have 100 in the live chat." Yeah, we've breached over 100 a few times. I don't know how many likes I got, but guys, if you haven't hit that like button, now's the time. I'm gonna have some coffee. Cowboy, do you still hold Torlamine? Currently, no, but I do. I love Torlamine. I would love to have some more, but right now I don't currently have any. All right, Ajerski says, good afternoon. I hope 2026 is starting out great. So far, everybody. So far, so good. Absolutely. All right, Michael, can't you type a few of your energy picks in the chat box? Oh, I could, but you know, I play it by I play the rules. I know how far I can bend them without getting into trouble. But yeah, they are cracking down on that this year. So it's one of these situations I can't like I can say, and this is an interesting thing. I can say I love Canoe. These are the reasons I love Canoe. But I can't say, Michael, you need Canoe in your portfolio. You should get Canoe. I can't say that because that would be against the rules and regulations of securities. That would be breaking securities law. The other part is not. I can speak, if I'm speaking to a larger crowd, I can say this is a great stock. I love this stock. And I can give you all the educational information about the stock and why I love the stock. But I'm not telling any one particular person, this stock is for you. Because honestly, guys, I don't know of any one stock that is right for everybody. So, it is all very individualized. So yeah, there are rules I have to abide by for sure. All right, let's see. Michael continues. PED has no debt. That book value is 125. That has new wells that broke even in earnings that made 69,000 in interest on the cash. Has in the bank that closed at 58. Looks undervalued. PED. I'm not familiar with that one off the top of my head, but let's take a quick look. Let's take a pick. Let's take a look here. We went into night mode. When I go into night mode, it's harder to read these things up here. All right, there we go. PED. Here we go. I know we've looked at this before. Here we go. Pedvico. There we go. Once again. Boy. Michael, you love these little penny stocks. You love these penny stocks. So yeah, here's taking a look. So far this year, though, they haven't been moving in the right direction. So that's a little concerning. Now, you mentioned the debt. Let's just go back. Let's go in. Let's take a look here and see. So yeah, you're right. There's no debt in there. They do have an 8.62. Are they giving? No, they're not giving a dividend. So yeah, it's worth looking at. But I would be a little bit careful. When a company is this small, even things you don't see coming, if they come, they could certainly topple you a lot faster. So I would be very careful with something like this one. Chances are, you might be right. It might be fine, but I would just still be a little careful. I wouldn't go all in for sure. All right. Happy says, Happy New Year, all. Raji says, thank you. I know there is too much overlap in my portfolio. Should I reduce it? If so, which ETFs I should remove and how should be portfolio allocation for good growth potential and stability as well? I don't know if I would. Yeah, when we looked at your portfolio, yeah, there's a little bit of overlap, but it really boils down to your conviction. If you look at where you're overlapping. So, one of the things, Raj, let me show you something here. I need to go back to you. Where are we at? Right over here. All right, so I can't see this on you, but we're going to go to the 0 to 100K challenge. So the actual, hello guys. All right, I'm going to pull up here. If you go to Insights, all right, one of the things you can do is it will actually show you a breakdown of your portfolio. So this currently is the breakdown. Now this is the Blossom average, and this here is the 0 to 100K. So you can see right now I have 24.7% in industrial. Now, my percentages are basically where I'm leaning at the moment, but There's a few of my sectors I really want to see them go up a bit, but right now I'm leaning heavily on industrial, energy, and materials. Those are my big ones. That's where you can go in. So sometimes when you're looking at a lot of these ETFs that have a lot of different things in them, you can come in here to get a general idea of where you are sitting, where you're sitting, and then this will help you identify where you might be a little heavier. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to sell one. It might just mean that maybe some of the next investments are going into something else to sort of bolster up an area that's low. Because if I bolster, so look at this here, like right now, my utility's at 8.3. If I wanted to bolster that higher, if my next investments all went into utilities, well, these numbers here are all going to start to come down. So things will sort of even themselves out. I mean, you can sell if you want to. There's nothing wrong with that, especially if you're in profit. But you don't always have to. If they're high conviction ETFs, you don't have to sell them. You can always just put new investment money into different ones and then let it sort of passively start to even itself out a little bit. And it will do that. It will do that over time for sure. All right, now, very, very quickly, guys, we have some content that I thought we would have it done within the first hour. And here we are coming up on 2 hours and we don't have it done yet. All right. So last time we looked at the energy sector. So we're quickly looking, guys, we're looking at sort of where I think some of these sectors are going to be going in the new year, in this year, 2026. All right, let's just move over here to utilities. So overall, oh, you guys saw real estate next. So, all right, utilities. Overall, I'm looking at a mild recovery. I think utilities has had a pretty good year. Some, especially some, like Fortis. Oh my God, Fortis had a great year. But I think we're going to see more recovery. So in other words, we're going to be going up in utilities. Not a lot, but we're going to still have a pretty steady movement to the upside. So we got fading of some of the rate volatility. Rates, I would say rates are pretty steady now. We're not going, we might, like I said before, we might see one rate cut before the end of the year, but we might not even see that. So this is kind of good. This is kind of good. We're going to see some stability in this sector because right here, regulated returns. And I mentioned that earlier. We have regulation, a lot of regulation when it comes to utilities. That's why their beta is so low. That's why they have low volatility. So we are going to see some stability coming from that. And like I said, we will have growth. It'll be slow, but visibility high. So in other words, you're going to see it. You'll see the growth, but it'll be slow, but it'll be steady. That's what I'm sort of getting at. And the overall vibe of this sector, defense, this is defense. It is a defensive sector for sure. It's not exciting, but it can be calming because you're going to do okay. All right, we're going to just do the next one as well. I just want to get these out of the way here. Real estate. Oh boy. Believe it or not, I think real estate's going to look a little better. So I called it a gradual thaw. So we're going to see, yeah, it will climb. I think it will climb a tiny bit. It's not going to be great, but it will be better. Let's just go that way. So yeah, rate certainty matters more than the rate cuts. And that's, the rate cuts kind of didn't materialize because normally rate cuts, normally they do help REITs, but now the fact that rates aren't changing, that's going to bring a little bit of stability. So that's kind of that whole rate certainty part. Office will still be weak, partially because a lot of companies have switched to a hybrid. So a hybrid work model. There's a lot more of that than there ever was. For that reason, a lot of office buildings are going to be, when rent renewals come up, a lot of people are going to be negotiating lower rents. There's just not as much demand. So that will be one area within REITs. I think that's still going to lag a little bit is office REITs. But industrial, residential, both, I think they'll both be stronger for sure. Balance sheet quality. So this is your fundamentals. It's going to be huge. Fundamentals will be huge. So overall, my vibe, healing, not healed though. We're not out of the water completely. A little bit of selective optimism. So selective being, yeah, I'm optimistic on, well, right here, Industrial and residential. I'm not optimistic on the office ones, so a little bit of that. All right, let's get. I'm gonna rank these out, guys. Let's just get them done. Let's get them done, and then it's just you and me until the end. Well, you and all of, well, yeah, all of yous and me. There we go. Materials. So mixed but opportunity rich. So I'm pretty bullish on this sector. So depending on the material. So I think like gold, I think gold will be strong, especially if we get any kind of geopolitical uncertainty, any kind of market uncertainty in there as well. Of course, you guys know I am totally into copper. I think copper is going to do huge, as well as any other metals tied to electrification and infrastructure. So copper, gold, silver, those will be three big ones for sure. I also said highly cyclical. So there will be, like gold's not going in a straight line up. It's going to go up. People take profits. It's going to come down, up, down. So it's going to be kind of a zigzagged step type movement to the upside for most of these. So yeah, the overall vibe, macro-driven swings with big upside potential. That big upside potential, it's still there, guys. It's still there. Not as big as last year, but still big. All right, industrials. Oh boy. So industrials, this is your quiet strength sector. I do love industrials. So we're looking at a couple of things. Some of the infrastructure spending tailwinds, and we've already started to see some of this. You know, like bird construction has already gotten a little bit of it. So I do like it. Defense, transportation, engineering, they're going to be strong. And the beautiful thing too is a lot of people miss industrials because they just look straight to tech. So it is often overlooked relative to tech. So what can I say? Overall vibe, steady growers, hiding in plain, whoops, sight. I left out the T. So yeah, I'm pretty strong. All right, technology. Now, guys, this is Canadian sectors, okay? So technology, yeah, I'm selective. Not all of Canadian tech will do well. Some of it will. Obviously, Canadian tech is not like the U.S. mega cap tech. Obviously, things like Shopify tend to do well. I think Shopify will continue to do well. Any kind of AI exposure could certainly be indirect and niche. I'm big on BlackBerry because of quantum, but you know, is it too soon? This could be a stacking year for BlackBerry. Maybe they won't explode until 2027, but we'll see. Overall, I look at this as being more of a stock pickers sector. It's not. I think ETFs will do fine, but I think if you pick the right technology stocks in Canada's sector, you'll probably do better. But once again, what are the right stocks, right? So you got to be a little careful with that. Consumer staples. I like consumer staples. This is our other defensive one. So Dollarama, which we mentioned earlier, falls into consumer staples. And actually, Raj, you're blocking half the screen. Sorry, guys. I just realized that. All right. So yeah, I think this is going to be, once again, a very stable sector. It is defensive because they do well when people have little money. These are the sectors. This is one of the sectors that continues to do well no matter what. So I think pricing power going to improve as we see a bit more cooling in inflation. Volume growth, we could see some modest volume growth in there. Some good income characteristics, and overall vibe, quiet consistency. There's not a lot of flash this year. Oh boy, consumer discretionary. Now this one, and in my prediction video, I named this as one of the worst sectors of the year. So yeah, my general idea on this one is caution. Be cautious with the consumer discretionary. So basically, we got consumers. They're still adjusting to higher costs overall. Money doesn't stretch as far as it used to. Rate relief is helping, but it doesn't really revive spending. Once again, it doesn't go far enough. Higher quality balance sheets will win in this case. So That's a good thing. And I say selective spending, selective stocks. People, people are going to be choosy when it comes to consumer discretionary, without a doubt, without a doubt. All right, telecoms. Oh boy, we got this. Oh, this is the second last one. So I see telecoms as I said, once again, I do see this being a better year than last year. I see sideways to up. So basically, a little bit of sideways, a little bit of up. Overall, it'll be up, but we do have a lot of this competitive pressures. So yeah, there's a lot of pressure between them. There's no other competition. We've got the big three. They're fighting for the same people. So that obviously is going to be one factor. Dividend sustainability, that's going to be another factor. We've already seen this year, we've seen the big dividend cut with Bell. Will we see one with TELUS this year? Interesting, interesting. I don't think Rogers really is in any danger of a dividend cut. But I think we're going to be interesting. I think things will slowly normalize this year overall. I say overall, yeah, there's a bit of income in this sector, and you're going to need some patience, because I don't see them moving up fast. I see a slow kind of move into recovery. So, all right, finally, Canadian healthcare. Oh boy. So overall, I think there'll be some modest growth. This is one of these sectors that nobody really pays a lot of attention to. So they're underfollowed, modest growth. Overall, our sector, it's smaller and less dynamic than, of course, the U.S. one. There are some defensive characteristics in there. They still matter. So it's not a bad, it's not one of my worst sectors. It's not flashy. It's not flashy at all, but it is stabilizing. So yeah, healthcare is another interesting thing. So yeah, those are the Canadian sectors, guys. I love it. All right, I'll put me over here. Put me over here. And we're now done that content. Like I said, I had actually planned to get through all of that in the first hour, but you guys had me on the thing. I'm on the thing. All right. Michael says, hello, Candace. I think Park Lane was the last publicly traded funeral operator in Canada, which was taken out. Oh, really? I've never really looked into that, but that's interesting. Yeah. Let's see. What about these food companies could turn around to lead this year if inflation is down? Well, here's the thing, though. It really, when you're looking at food companies, right? So they're consumer staple. So these companies are considered consumer staple. People are going to eat no matter what. So there's going to be a level of stability with them. Yeah, prices still go up and down, all of that fun stuff, but I overall think it's going to be a safe sector. I think it will be a safe sector. The food companies I would be more concerned about are ones that sort of start to border on consumer discretionary. Like if you're oh gosh, let's say you a company that makes cotton candy. Well, maybe there'll be less cotton candy eaten when people can't, when people are struggling to afford the basics. So I don't know. I think we'll have a turnaround, but I think it'll be slow, steady, all of that fun stuff. All right. Larry says, started at Samsung. It's always been interesting how the people more educated and with advanced and high-paying jobs successfully don't like Trump. I think it comes down to Trump's biggest, his biggest base, his biggest MAGA group are, there are a lot of people who are not super educated. There's some in there that are super educated, but for the most part, I think he's got a very, very big, rural roots type people in his following. Not to say there's anything wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that, but that's where I think a big amount of MAGA is at. But at the same time, it filters, I think, into everything a little bit. Larry, Greenland will be renamed Red, White, and Blue Land. Rory says Orange Land. I love it. There's a video of Trump being asked what his New Year's resolution is, and he said world peace. His wife gives a crazy look at him immediately. Maybe world in pieces, he meant to say. He meant to say world in pieces. Rory, I'm topping up Canoe maybe this week or next. Nice. Maybe I should turn down Aussie so I can hear Candace. Okay. Yep. I'm not as exciting as Ozzy Osbourne. I've never bitten the head off of a bat. Never, never, never gonna either. Cowboy, hearing there is finance YouTubers being harassed by government. Have you heard anything? No, no. I know what the rules are, right? I don't really cross the lines. But no, I've had no issues. I've had no videos put down. I've had absolutely nothing. But not to say I should knock on wood, right? Just in case. CRA is also going after CERB recipients again too. Yeah, there was a lot of people who took supports who didn't qualify. So, if you have not received any kind of letter from the CRA, you probably are safe. I think these are people who have already received letters and have just ignored them. Sad thing is you can't untip the dominoes that will happen if China jumps into Taiwan. No, no, absolutely not. I mean, that will make the world will be a more dangerous place if that happens. I don't think it'll be World War III, but yeah, it will definitely be a little more dangerous. Raj says, thank you, ma'am. You made my day. I really appreciate you are doing a great job. Keep it up. No problem. You know what? I look at this as being a two-way street. You guys come and you watch my videos and you come in here and ask questions. I always want to give back. I always want to make sure that it's going in both directions for sure. Cowboy, the CRA needs to keep those people busy. I believe they are the largest government department. There's a lot of them. There really is. They need to get the money back from the businesses like Walmart that were given government funding to pay staff during the COVID lockdown. And that's probably the money they're not going to get back, to be honest. Brian says, gotta run. I have 2 truckloads of wood to get from my shop and into my yard before the snow flies in the morning. Free 3/4 plywood from crates as well, and 2x4s, etc., worth $3,500 to redo my shed. Well, good luck with your shed. Rory says, see you, Brian. Now, Brian is probably already gone because how far behind am I? Oh, I'm only about 11 minutes. I'm only about 11 minutes behind, so I'm slowly getting caught up. All right. How bad did CSU fall this year? Oh boy. CSU, let's take a gander. Constellation software. Do. All right, if we look at the 1 year. So yeah, CSU. Now, if you look at it from the beginning of the year, they entered the year. Well, not quite. This is not the full year because this is technically the 6th now. But a year ago, we'll go with that. A year ago, they were at $4,590. I'm not going to worry about the cents. So yeah, they've lost quite a bit. And at one point, look at this, middle of the year here, they peaked. They peaked with a high of $5,200. So yeah, Constellation Software, they've taken a big hit. I mean, AI is changing the world. And I know there's some of you that are like, AI's not changing the world. Don't talk so loose, Candace. But no, it is. It really is. AI is picking up steam. If you have not been impacted by AI yet, the key word is yet. It will impact you one way, shape, or form. Heck, even my mom. All right, my mom is like, I think she's 76. I send her a poster. So I mentioned this to you guys before. I create a poster for her music show. All of a sudden the other day, she sent me a copy of the poster, but it was all done with claymation. I was like, what the heck? It was kind of neat, actually. I replied to her, I said, claymation? She says, yeah, I'm just playing with AI. I was like, oh, wow, my mom has discovered AI. Now we're in trouble. I may not have to make her poster anymore if she realizes AI can do a better job. Leon says, good evening, guys. Hello, Leon. How are you? Guys, Leon actually has a channel as well. Leon's Money Flow. If you haven't checked it out, just, put it on the back burner. Check it out maybe after the show or something. But always good to see you, Leon. Azenial says, I will be putting all new money into Utes and might also trim tech exposure. Utes is fantastic. I mean, the thing about Utes, like I said, Utes, it is at the money, so you're not going to get any growth on Utes. It's going to mostly, I mean, it'll move up and down, but for the most part, you're not going to really make a lot of growth. It's all about that income. And if you are a pure income investor, Utes is absolutely fantastic. There's nothing wrong with it at all. So I do like Utes. Good old Evolve utility ETF for sure. All right, Michael, can you look at LW? Looks oversold. That every quarter looks like a beat that had downgrades to $50, area that raised dividend to 38, frozen potatoes to places like McDonald's, all fast food and more. Okay, LW. I know already going into this, it's a U.S. company. Here we go. Lamb Weston Holdings. All right. I've never looked at Lamb Weston Holdings before, Michael. I want to take a quick gander here and take a look. Oh, look at this. Oh, that's a big drop. That's a big drop. That almost feels like an earnings drop. It feels like they had a bad earnings. That's what it feels like. Let's take a look. We will add them over here and see if that's what it was, but I have a feeling they had a bad earnings. All right, let's put this in. Let's go in. And, well, they had an earnings. Let's take a look here. They actually had a good earnings. Well, at least data-wise. So they exceeded on earnings by 7.13%. On revenue, they exceeded by 1.66%. Very interesting. But look at how they responded. So that tells me one thing. That tells me there was something in their earnings report that nobody liked. As in, the investors were not happy. So it might have been, and you mentioned some downgrades. That's probably what caused their big fall here. So that's interesting. But the fact that they are looking good, that makes me think that this is something that they may actually come back up. I like that. Sometimes when I play somebody that goes down like this is almost an ideal setup. Almost an ideal setup for that. So I do think I like this one. But let's take a quick gander here. I just want to take one key data look here and see what we're looking at. Oh, they do have a lot of debt. That's one thing against them right there. So their debt to equity, 222%. That's pretty high. Return on equity is not bad, 16.22. But yeah, it's one of these things where, yeah, I'm a little leery on this one, a little leery on the debt part, but I like everything else I saw. And they might, and here's the thing, even with debt like this, if I was going to swing trade, this is one I would definitely look at. All right, a Scratch says silver is a must watch this week. I will be watching it for sure. All right, and guys, as I get caught up, I will be jumping over some of your questions. So always keep in mind, if you got something you really want me to look at, put a QQQ in front of it. Why is it okay to bash Trump, but Carney gets skipped? It's even with bashing Trump, I think it's more or less. Well, you are right. I mean, you're right in some sense. Yeah, we do. We certainly do bash Trump a little bit. But at the same time, like, I just don't think. I think when it comes to Carney, it's a lot more polarizing, especially as Canadians. I personally, I don't have a lot of problems with him. And I know that you do, and a lot of people in the West do, because, the West has endured a long Liberal government that has certainly not treated Alberta fairly. So, yeah. Is it, I mean, I probably shouldn't bash Trump, but I try not to bash Trump. Oh, but boy, he sure keeps himself in the news, and he keeps on doing things. And it's not even so much like, even with the Venezuela, I don't know if I'm bashing Trump per se or bashing what he's done. I think it's kind of that situation. So and this is, you know what? Let's just go this way. We'll say it this way, cowboy. If you bash somebody's actions, a politician's actions for doing something dumb, that's okay. Just don't bash the politician personally. That's what I would say. And I will also, I will strive to do the same as well. Rory, let's see, Trump can cause world events where Carney can't. That's kind of true at the same time. All right, so let's see here. A&W have a royalty fund but never got in. Yeah, A&W, they do have a royalty as well. They're kind of like in that same boat as Pizza Pizza. Uh-oh. Guys, we got a visitor. We got a visitor. Let's go full screen here for a moment. Come on here. Come say hi. All right, there we go. Look, over there. Winter, Winter. All right, well, she's actually looking for, what do you want? Hi, how are you? She was looking for treats. She's looking for treats. That's what she's looking for. I'll give her a couple, because if I don't, you guys will have to watch her trying to climb up me for the next little bit. Here we go. All right. But there we go. Winter made her appearance. Gotta love it. Larry, crazy part about TSMC, the founder had to buy his own shares. Taiwan was a tyrannical government at the time. They owned half, and others, Phillips, who co-started ASML, and a few others owned the rest. All right. Election may be incoming in Canada in March, April. I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, they only need one person. They only need one person to, for any vote of non-confidence. So, and honestly, the NDP right now, as much as they say they don't like the government, and they don't. I mean, because the NDP are much further left. They're not ready for an election. And if you notice in the budget thing, it wasn't so much that they supported the government, they just abstained from voting. And abstaining just to make sure that, we don't get an election. Nobody's ready for an election. Also, keep in mind, too, Pierre Poilievre right now has a leadership review he has to get through. It's so hard to say. With him losing people to the Liberals, that certainly, some people within the Conservative Party may very well hold him responsible for that. So I don't know if he's going to survive it. Now, a month ago, I would have said that he's going to survive it. But right now, I really don't know. I don't know. So that's going to be a very interesting thing to look at. All right. A Cowboy says, I sold out my pizza a few months back. I was profitable, but not as good as Canny Biggie. I will say this. Cowboy. I may have sold out of my pizza position. You'll have to watch the 0 to 100K challenge, but pizza for me is not consumer staples. It's more consumer discretionary. So, and I've already kind of mentioned where I see consumer discretionary this year. So I may have moved out of that position. Bismarcky says, I've subscribed to Leon's Money Flow. Nice. There you go, Leon. You got to drop in. Every time you drop into my stream, you get a subscriber. There you go. Perlovia says, I wish all you fellow investors the greatest. This 2026 potential is there. Yeah, absolutely. There we go. Scott says, every time I hear Utes, think of my cousin Vinny. Yeah, I know. The Utes. Jordan, hey Jordan, good to see you. AI. Well, considering I'm making money off of and with AI, I am not opposed to it. Yeah, like, I've heard this thing that there's going to be two types of people in the world. People who know how to use AI and people who are going to fall behind. That's kind of the version that I heard. I don't know if it's exactly that way, but making AI a tool in your, in whatever your job is, your processes, it's not a bad way to go. All right, and very quickly, we've got Scratch in here with a super chat. Thanks for the dedication, Candace. Great work. Well, thank you, Scratch. I certainly appreciate it. And that, guys, means we got a goat. And this here, by the way, guys, this goat is the first goat that will get retired when the secret goat gets found. So kind of a, that one you may be saying goodbye to sooner than later, or maybe very soon. I don't know. We'll find out. We'll find out. Awesome. But thank you very much, Scratch. All right. And let's see here. Where was we at? All right. Let's see here. I was at Jordan's comment. All right. Yeah, Michael mentioning, yeah, LB did absolutely. Wonder if it's involved with the Weston grocery chain. That I don't know, but it's interesting, right? It's interesting. Lamb Weston, I think they make the fries for McDonald's. Yeah, and that's what Michael was saying. That's what Michael was saying. Paul says Costco hasn't gone anywhere since their longtime CEO has retired 1 year, negative 6.25%. Yeah, Costco has not had a great year. I certainly would like to see them turn that around, but yeah, they had a pretty bad year, 2025. Let's see. Michael says, yes, and they make fries for McDonald's and all fast food places and schools and any type of frozen potatoes. See, Trump brings it on himself. PEI potatoes have new tax trade, make them more expensive. Could be the drop in LW. Maybe. There we go. Dave. All right. I'm not gonna say anything that's disparaging. I'm gonna just skip. I'm gonna skip. All right, let's see, the Nightbot, let's see. Arby's roast beef and mostly all fast food places that I think mostly Europe being a slowdown. Scratch says leaders who really WOTK, the interests of their countries always gets demonetized in the media. Got to look at who owns the medias. All right, let's see, Cowboy. Bismarcky, NDP has no money. That's the point. That's exactly the point. So what can I say? Victoria's Secrets are the TMX ads today. Oh, really? I know. Sometimes the ads are. I always worry that I get in trouble. If I get in trouble, it's because of an ad on TMX. That's the way I look at it. J. Drooble Bubble. Hi, would mention some can and U.S. gas company, natural gas companies. There's, I mean, there, like a lot of our energy companies have natural gas at the same time, so you have to look at it that way. But there are definitely quite a few, and I'll tell you, if you're looking, this is one of the ways I look at it. Like if I come in here to, oops, let's pull it up. It helps. TMX. If I come into TMX and I'm looking for, let's say, for example, I'm thinking, all right, I'm looking for a natural gas company. Because sometimes, there's ones I don't even know about. Natural. N-A-T. Let's do this. U-R-A-L. Natural gas. So I might just type in natural gas and see what I come up with. And at this case here, I've got a few, but these are all ETFs. Okay, so that doesn't help, right? Or does it? So I'll take a look at this here. HUN, this is the Global X Natural Gas ETF. All right, well, I'm looking for a natural gas company. What can I do? And this is kind of a teachable moment. So I'm just going to take the Global X Natural Gas, and let's actually just go to Global X Natural Gas. And I'll just pull up Google. We'll drop it in there. All right, there we go. ETF Global X right here. This is what I'm looking for. So this here is fantastic. So I now am into that ETF. So, but I'm not looking for an ETF, right? We're looking for companies. So what do? Very simple. We go to holdings. All right. Oh, well, that doesn't help. Winter term natural gas. Seriously? They don't have company? All right. That was not what I was expecting. Teachable moment just went down the tubes. Oh, that's hilarious. All right. Wow. All right. We went down the tubes. Let's continue this. All right. I'm going to Google this. I'm going to Google this and see where it goes. This is hilarious. This is actually hilarious. Let's take a look and see what this here is. Natural gas, January 27. All right. Oh, what is that? Oh, those are futures. Oh, okay. Ah, all right. Yeah, it's not that's not even helping us remotely, but um, I couldn't name any U.S. natural gas. Does anybody know any U.S. natural gases? That I don't know. That I don't know for sure. But let's just take a, I know, give me a second here. There we are. Let's actually take a look at Obsidian Energy here for a second. So this is one that Scratch actually brought up initially, Obsidian Energy. So this one here, they're an intermediate size oil and gas producer. So they've got a whole bunch of stuff. They're coming out of Peace River. So this is a company I like. I like this for sure. They have, of course, they've got oil and natural gas. And that's kind of what I was getting at. You're going to see a little bit of everything. So this one here, and the reason I brought this up is I know that it's big for, I know Scratch really likes it. And so far, it's been, it's been a little bit volatile, but I do think natural gas is on the upswing. But this is just one. And you're going to see a lot of companies in Canada are going to be doing both, because a lot of times when you drill, you're not just getting oil. There's natural gas. There's a lot of stuff that's in there. So yeah, I like OBE, Torlamine. That's another one. What about Crescent Point? I don't know if Crescent Point has natural gas. I don't even know if I can spell Crescent Point. Maybe I can't spell Crescent Point, but I would just look at pretty much most of your big Canadian oil companies. A lot of them are going to have a good natural gas component to them. And, I would go from there. It's probably going to be the same in the U.S., but I'm not really familiar with the U.S. All right. Yeah, Scratch. Oh, there we are. OBE, even greater. Palamine, or sorry, Torlamine, Paystone, all of that fun stuff. All right. Doorpat. Happy Sunday, y'all. Almost missed this live. What do we expect in the markets with the Venezuela situation? Red tomorrow. I'm going to call red morning a green afternoon. But we'll be back here for the market close, so we'll have a chance to look at it. And Scratch is saying ARCRK for the U.S. There we go. Next gen. I think they're natural gas as well, Cowboy. Yeah, I forgot about next gen. Rory. Yes. But these are leveraged. These are 2x. So you may want to stay away from them. NFE, which is really risky right now, but if they turn, they will print money. Futures US 500 and US 100 in the green only slightly. That's kind of what I was originally thinking. CNQ. Duh. They're another one that have a lot of natural gas. And CNQ, oh boy, I love CNQ. They are a good company. There we go. Methodical Marcus. Occidental Petroleum, OXY. There we go. Yeah, there's a lot. There's absolutely a lot for sure. Holy banana bread. So guys, we're at about 2.5 hours. If you got your last minute questions, get them in fast. Get them in fast, because, normally these streams go about 2.5 hours. So let's just see what you got. We'll see what you got. I'm gonna have some coffee here. I'm almost out of coffee too, which is another thing. Okay, Michael says, so much bad news around the world isn't good that a slow already happening. Well, yeah, there's one of the things is there's always there's always going to be bad news in the world. As investors, it's kind of that interesting thing. Like, you kind of have to sort of look and say, okay, well, how can I make money with good news? How can I make money with bad news? And that's kind of the view that you have to kind of look at. But no, as a human outside of investing, yeah, it kind of sucks. There's a lot of bad stuff that happens. There's a lot of people who get hurt. It's not good. But like I said, sometimes you got to just throw on your, investing hat. CNQE is a good buy too. That's an enhanced one, so it is an income version, as Cowboy is showing you there. Is there a revolt in Iran at the moment? I don't know. If is this something that's breaking right now? I'm not sure. I haven't heard of anything, but nothing surprises me nowadays. I guess. Well, you know what? Um, if there was a revolt in Iran, I think that would be front page news. So let's take a quick gander. All right, we'll go to CNN. Why not? See if there's any kind of breaking news. Venezuelans are apprehensive about what comes next. Clear picture, yeah. Rubio says U.S. Absolutely nothing in there. But actually, you know what? Let's try one other source here. Let's go to the BBC. Sometimes the BBC will have other stuff, not always entirely U.S.-centric, although this one's looking very U.S.-centric. Yeah, Danish PM tells Trump to stop threats against Greenland. Oh, boy. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything in there at all about Iran, so I don't know. I don't know about that, Rory. So, anyway. All right, we'll go back to the big screen. Do you have any idea why CVI keeps dropping? I don't. Rory says, nope, it's all Venezuela. There we go. All right, guys. So our next video, coming out Tuesday, although tomorrow afternoon, if you're a channel member, you'll be able to watch it. We are 0 to 100K challenge. We're going to do an update on that. And after that, I think the next video, the Friday one, I think we're going to get. I think we're going to do a hybrid growth income ETF video. So I think that's what's going to be next after that. But we will also be here tomorrow afternoon. So we do have, so far this week, we have market closes for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So who knows? We could be doing them all week. We'll find out. But we will be back here tomorrow afternoon. Until then, guys, I really only got one thing to say, and that is, bye-bye.